They'll try every dirty trick in the book to get back at you.
In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to reveal your identity.
I hope this is as close to hell as I'll ever get.
Episode of Warren Files Declassified. This is the place where you're going to get some background information you wouldn't get anywhere else. This is especially for our Patreon supporters, and it is definitely going to be different. Having said that, I'm going to turn this over to the brainchild of this program, and it's not me. His name is Dalton Harrell. He's one of our directors. He's the director for services throughout all of southern United States. He is an extraordinary young man. And I only wish my grandparents had both gotten to meet him, because they would have absolutely loved this young man. Dalton, would you please introduce yourself and explain to these folks what we are up to here?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the kind words, Chris. My name is Dalton Harrell. I am the Regional Director of Services for Southern United States. I come up with the idea to basically create the show probably around 2.5 to 3 months ago. And I wanted to do something a little bit different. I didn't just want to talk about strictly the paranormal, but things that were just strange or weird or dark. So not only are we going to be discussing the paranormal, but we're also going to be discussing other things as well, such as declassified government documents that talk about aliens or mind control experiments or weird stuff like that. So anyway, in the first episode, episode you're watching right now is about the Nazi summoned demon case. This was a Warren Legacy Foundation case. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you, Chris.
Well, actually, I hate to start this by contradicting you, my friend, but this was not a Warren Legacy case. And that's really kind of important. You see, I hate to admit this, because it says a lot about our, well, I want to call it a profession, but the truth is this field of study is the Wild West. And the people who get involved in this often have very damaged egos or don't have any clue what they're doing. And they watch these TV programs and they watch the videos on YouTube and they think they've figured it out, and they run out and they try to gather their own evidence so they can get their hits and clicks. Well, that's kind of what happened here. Only they also wanted to turn it into a business and make it something more. And don't get me wrong, these are good people with good intentions, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, other than the fact that they did make a few mistakes. And that's the lesson I'm trying to get across here. I've made this comparison many times, so forgive me for this, but you know, everybody talks about paranormal unity. You know, they talk about this idea of supporting everybody who wants to do this work, because we should all work together and we should all be a wonderful community. Well, that's a beautiful idea. That's a lovely idea. But the foundation, the Warren Legacy Foundation, focuses on our clients. And if Joe Schmo wants to pick up his camcorder, do they exist anymore, and run out and try to document evidence, but he has no idea how to actually help the family, that's the same thing as a guy saying, you know, I really want to learn how to do brain surgery. I'm going to go buy a scalpel. Hey, who the hell would do that, right? Well, we have a similar situation here, and it's one that unfortunately happens far too often. We have programs, people who go on these TV programs, and they will call us afterward because they thought they were going to get the help they needed there. And instead, all those people did, producers and the actors, they stirred up trouble. They got themselves hurt, and then they ran away. And we see it all the time. This case happened about 1.5 years ago. we were contacted. I was in Scotland at the time, and we were contacted by a team in Germany that was not part of the foundation. They didn't have a lot of experience at the time when they started, and they had gone to this beautiful clearing in the forest, and they had contacted what they had been told by this spirit was the Green Man. Now, the Green Man is an elemental that represents nature throughout Europe, especially Eastern Europe, as far as I recall. I could be wrong. But anyway, it is a spirit that is very strong and very, very revered among pagan communities. And this spirit, I don't believe it was the Green Man, directed them to this team, this German team, to a school that had been used by the Nazis as a girls' school during the early years of World War II. And then in the early 40s, around 42, I think, or 43, they switched it to a place to store B-2 bombers, or sorry, V-2 rockets. V-2 rockets were the ones that landed throughout England, especially in London during the Blitz, and they were the ones that caused the most damage. So this already has a pretty wretched history. The team, thinking that they were doing something good because the spirit had told them that they would be doing something good, created a tour. They had not been into the school, had not vetted the location, did not make sure that it was safe, didn't have the experience to tell if it was safe. And they brought a group into the school. They went into the basement. Already it was terrible, but when they got into the basement, there were sigils and symbols throughout the basement, all of which were either pagan or actually satanic. And the Nazis would throw anything at the wall to see what would stick. And unfortunately, in this case, something stuck. There was a woman, a middle-aged woman, who had joined this team. She was one of the public, but she also was gifted. This is a good illustration of why I have a problem with paranormal tourism, especially locations that can be dangerous. But they were in the basement, and this woman, being gifted, saw this little girl just wearing like this short sweater, got down halfway to her knees, and then nothing else. And she looked so skeletal. And the woman was immediately, rocked with empathy for this child and reached out her hand. But as soon as she did, this child had this hideous, evil grin. She looked like, honestly, she looks, and you'll see the photo. Dalton will put up a photo for you of this entity. It looks like something right out of The Ring. Now, the photo that you're looking at is taken from a video. It's a still from a video. And then we've enhanced it and zoomed in a little bit so you can get a good look at this thing. That's all we've done to it. We haven't done much. We don't want to change it. We don't want to, because that's a problem with digital photography. When you start tweaking it, you can really create things that aren't there. But after this woman left the school, after she had this experience where she pulled her hand away real quick, it was the middle of the winter, and there was a knock on the door. It was nighttime, and she and her two sons ran to the door, and there was this little girl, half naked, just wearing that ratty looking sweater and nothing else, barefoot in the snow. And this little girl said, "Is Herman here? I'm trying to find Herman." And the woman said, "There's no one named Herman here." She says, "It's my dog. He's lost." I said, No, there's no Herman here." And she closed the door. Now, if it had been left at that, everything would have been fine. Unfortunately, the two sons were begging their mother to let this child in, saying, it's the middle of winter and she doesn't even have her shoes on and it's snowing and it's terrible. So the woman relented and she opened the door. That was the mistake. That was the invitation. That was accepting this thing coming in. And as soon as she opened the door, there was nothing there and no footsteps in the snow. The spirit was gone because it had been given permission. Now, a spirit does not have to come the moment you give it permission. It can take a long time. In this case, it didn't take terribly long. But that woman who had been part of this public tour was so fascinated by what she had seen that she joined the team, which often happens with a lot of our paranormal researchers around the world. You know, they have their own experience, and then they need to understand it. I understand that myself. But for the next 2 years, this entity, this spirit that looks like a child of a little girl, would show up on this team's cases even before the team got there. Now, that does happen a lot. They try to intimidate either the team or the people being victimized and try to scare them into not cooperating and not working together to get rid of the spirit. Never give in to intimidation because they're already scared. That's why they're trying to intimidate you. You know, they don't want to lose their food source. So it is not a good idea to walk away, ever. This thing showed up. There was a church they went to. I guess it had been an old church and had been turned into something else, and they were in it. And there was the girl up in the rafters looking at them, confronting them. I mean, it was terrifying. One evening, this same woman was going down the stairs, or I'm sorry, her husband was going down the stairs to the basement, and he was about 3 or 4 steps from the bottom. And this spirit manifested behind him and pushed him down the stairs forcefully. And the way he landed, he ended up breaking his leg. Another team member, a woman who I know, her daughter was pulled out of her bed physically, thrown onto the floor. Another time, her daughter was ripped out of her body and astrally projected into an incredibly dark place. Now, that is not unheard of. I had the same experience when I was working on the haunting in Connecticut case with Carmen Snedeker. Every time she would come under sexual attack, she would be drawn into this dark place where she was surrounded by these spirits. We even have a photo of a picture she drew, but basically it's just dark black shadows surrounding her everywhere. I had a lot of my own experiences in that house, but I digress. So the team, not having any clue what they should do, contacted us. We get that a lot. We're not experts. We're students. That's all we're ever going to be. There's not a chance in the world that I'm going to live long enough that I would ever consider myself anything other than a student. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to have the answers in my lifetime. They're going to come later, I'm sure. I have faith. But I spoke to this team, and they truly are a good team. Don't get me wrong. They're a great team. They just didn't know what they were confronting. And I said, look, you can't work on any more cases right now, not until we get this taken care of, because what's happening is you're spreading a psychic infection from place to place to place by going to those places. And you're causing damage, and you're causing people to be in danger. We don't even allow people in the foundation. Now, I have to say, one of the things I love about the people in the foundation, we're so careful about who we bring, but they will step back if they don't feel they're in the right headspace. If you are not in a positive place and you are truly faithful and centered, you should not be going into any kind of paranormal situation. It is not a safe place for you to be. I also suggested to this team that they contact a priest and get everyone rebaptized. Everyone turned out, to be Catholic, and or Protestant. I can't quite recall. And so they fought me on that for a while, saying that in Germany you can't be rebaptized, et cetera, et cetera. Well, they did find a priest, that was willing to do it. We also had other members of the foundation send the team different ointments and concoctions that would help them clean their oral, help them break the attachments. All blessed, all wonderful. And that combination, combined with them listening to what we were talking about, helped them to break that attachment. This thing caused a lot of damage. It hurt people. Can you imagine that? A Nazi summoned demon? I mean, that's right out of Hollywood. Now, over the next, and I don't know, Dalton, I'm going to throw you back on here with me right now. Are we doing this monthly or bi-weekly?
We're doing this monthly.
Thank God. I already do enough.
Well, once a month. Once a month.
I want to eat once in a while, All right. But anyway. All right. So I would like us to go down the rabbit hole. I know we have our own schedule. We're going to be going and doing that as well. But once these are no longer public, I will feel a lot more comfortable sharing with the people who are Patreon supporters, because those are true people who are supporting us, sharing my feelings, my thoughts, my theories that I don't always share openly, because honestly I can be quite controversial, and I can upset people, but the funny thing is, I was reading The Demonologist, which we are doing actually for Patreon as well.
Yep. First chapter is up.
Awesome. I love that. And I was amazed at how many editorial errors there are in this thing. I mean, misspellings and everything in just the first chapter. But so I'm reading the first chapter, and then I'll discuss the chapter 2 weeks later in an entirely new program. So twice a month, you're going to get the Demonologist, and what we'll talk about. Like in the first chapter, I was amazed. I have more experience than my grandparents did when they wrote The Demonologist. It was in the 1970s. They only had 30 years experience. I've got over 40. It's pretty amazing because I learned so much from them, and they did it all on their own. They didn't have that. God, they were such amazing people. Truly extraordinary people.
Yes, they were.
I'm so proud. Yeah, I'm so proud. But the truth is, this is a field of study, and my grandparents changed over the years. In the 1970s, what they thought or what they stated to the author was not exactly what they ended up believing in later in life. So half of the recordings that we're going to be doing are going to be me talking about that chapter that we just read and giving you my insight and what I've learned and what my grandparents learned since The Demonologist came out. It is used as a textbook in many different places in the country, if not the world. But like with any textbook, it needs to be updated occasionally. And this is one that definitely needs some updates. So we're going to be doing that with you. Dalton, what else do we have to talk about, my friend? What else should we share before we move on?
Well, I would definitely like to thank the supporters that we have for joining us on Patreon. Whether you're a tier 1 supporter or a top tier supporter, your support means the world to us. Without your support, we wouldn't have the funds to be able to send teams out to locations that need to be investigated in order to help clients. So we definitely thank you for that. We can also plug in our Teespring store as well. We do have some awesome new merch in our Teespring store if you would like to go check that out. There is a promo code for Patreon supporters to get $5 off. If I'm not mistaken, that is Patreon 1, the number 1. So you can get $5 off your entire order. We've got hoodies, shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, die cut stickers, pillows. I think we've even got socks. We've got a lot. We have a lot.
Yeah, we
And
even have masks if you're still wearing them.
yep, yeah. I actually ordered
We've got
a
Annabelle merchandise. We've
yep.
got my grandparents on some merchandise. Honestly, to me, what's important is I'm so grateful to anybody who invests in that. All of it, every penny of it goes to helping people, helping families. Please do not think that just because, for instance, today I'm in Medellin, Colombia, which is honestly as close to paradise as you're going to get. I'll be posting something to show you my adventures that I had today. They were extraordinary. I was in a place where Pablo Escobar made it an absolute war zone for many, many, many years. And yet, for about 5 years now, this has been an extraordinarily beautiful place, and the people are so full of life and happiness. I was watching adults putting down plastic on an inclined road in this amazing neighborhood. And then the kids came out with brushes and soap, and they're putting soapy water down, and the adults are throwing water on one another like they do every single morning in this particular neighborhood to make it all clean, so that when they open up in the afternoon, all of the tourists have a special place. But to watch the joy that they had, and to see that, it's so important to me to share those uplifting messages about these places. But my point about this was not a penny that comes. Sorry, we got a storm started. Not a penny goes to helping me with my travels or anything. To be quite honest, I have my Social Security and a state pension. I don't need more. I don't want more. I support the foundation with my pension, which has always been sufficient. But the truth is, we need materials. We need to be able to move teams to other places. We need to, buy equipment to help people. Sometimes we just need to send money to people. Don't get me wrong. Please don't start sending us requests for money. That's not what we do. Much.
Yeah, we're not a bank. We're not a bank.
We're not a bank. Case by case, I've helped people, but that's me. That's not the foundation. Anyway, that's all I've got to say today. Thank you for joining us. Please support us. We are trying to do God's work. And God bless you all for being there for us. Honestly, your prayers alone are a huge help for all of the families that we serve. If you do nothing else, if all you do is see this one public video and all you do is pray for the families that the foundation is trying to help, that's all I can ask for. That's really, I'm overjoyed just for that.
Well, join us again on, let's see. Let me pull up my calendar here real quick.
Oh, here we go again. This is the one where this one goes out right now. I guess, what are we doing this? May 5th, and then it's released publicly June 5th, and then the same thing for the next one?
Actually, this one's going to be released May 1st
Okay.
for Patreon, and then it's going to air publicly on June 1st. That's for this episode. And then for the next episode, we're going to be discussing, this one will also be released publicly, Project Blue Book, which is a declassified DoD document, which will be released on Patreon June 5th. And then the public air date will be August 5th. I'm sorry, July 5th. My bad.
Right.
And then after that, it is Patreon only, exclusive. The other 6 episodes, which will carry us throughout the rest of the year, all the way till December, those will be Patreon exclusive. And one of those I am actually really excited to hear about is, actually, I'm going to give you 2 of them. The Brick from Borley Rectory, that's going to be episode 4. And then the story of the Vampire Coffin, which will be aired November 6th on Patreon.
For me, my favorite's going to be the satanic idol that's sitting in my grandparents' museum, because that's the one where it was my case in Newtown, Connecticut, and I got to do a flying tackle of a levitating possessed man over his pregnant wife in the middle of the night after I threw my cousin on the floor because he was screaming in panic and didn't know how to move. That's just, I mean, honest to God, there's some great things that we're going to share with you. And
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to it. And by the way, the one that I know Dalton is excited about, Borley Rectory, there's a reason for that. It's the connection with my grandparents and with another very, very famous investigator of the past from England, who I have a personal connection with. His name is Harry Price. So we're going to be talking about that. That's it.
It's going to be great. Thank you all again for watching. Thank you for being supporters. And if you're seeing this video on Facebook or YouTube after it is released publicly, please consider, joining us. $5 a month will get you access to Warren Files Declassified and several other great things. The reading of the Demonologist and the post discussion of each chapter. So you're going to get access to all that. Of course, as you move up in tiers, you get, more access to other exclusive content and discounts on merchandise.
What was it, from $5 to $20 a month?
It was either $5 to $20 or $5 to $25. I think it's $5 to $20. I think $20 is our highest tier.
Okay. Well, yeah, honestly, for me, the whole point is the money goes to helping people. So if you can afford it, $5, $25, I don't care. If you can afford it, if you can afford to spend less than $1 a day to help people around the world who are being attacked by something. All right, look, if I were after your money, I'd say they were being attacked by the devil. I don't know. But I do know that these are people in true fear, in true pain. Some die. And we're trying to help them the best we can. 90% of our cases are purely natural. But that doesn't mean they're not dangerous. It doesn't mean that people are not scared to death. And if we can educate them and help them to overcome their fear, then we can also empower them. And that can help to change the world for the better. Small, but it adds up. So your money does help to help others.
I couldn't agree more, Chris. Thank y'all so much for joining us. And we'll see you again in a month.
All right. Take care, everyone.
My name is Lorraine Warren.
Devils and demons and evil spirits. They'll try every dirty trick in the book to get back at you.
In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to reveal your identity.
I hope this is as close to hell as I'll ever get.